working on some technological issues here happening. So I can't see Ramie just in case we step over each other a little bit. But Ramie, it's been a little bit, man. How was your weekend? How is your moving process going?
Nick, I can barely hear you, my man. I don't know what's going on. I heard the station loud and clear, but now I can barely hear you. I got you now. There he is. There's my guy. There he is. What's up? It's moving, Nick. It's moving. And, and that's never pleasant. Never pleasant. It's never fun. Has moving ever been fun? No, it has not. And because I was moving, I'm not even gonna lie. I'm always very transparent. Like a lot of radio hosts, they'll act like they know everything all the time, and they're up to the news, like it's up to the minute, up to the second. They know everything that's going on. I'll tell you when I get behind. But while I was dealing with all the moving stuff, because of course, Nick, the movers showed up while I'm walking out my door to go to work, because that's when movers show up, right? While I'm dealing with all the moving stuff, all hell broke loose in the NBA. I didn't hear about any of this until I got out of my car and opened up my computer and saw the Slack thread between that we have here as a show. And good Lord, man, like everything happened while I was dealing with movers. I can't even keep up with everything that happened while I was dealing with the movers. Don't you love it, though? Don't you love legal tampering?
Of conversations, and just about an hour ago or so, as Ramie mentioned, a big-time trade happened in the NBA. Dejounte Murray is actually now a member of the Atlanta Hawks. He gets traded from the Spurs to the Hawks. In return, the Hawks send San Antonio Danilo Gallinari, 3 first-round draft picks, and a draft swap. Now, Wojnarowski brought us some more details here from ESPN. He tweeted out, the Hawks are sending a 2023 first-round pick. That is from Charlotte. So next year's first-round pick is from Charlotte, not Atlanta. And then they will also send their own 2025 and 2027 first-round picks. Zach Lowe has jumped in, and he has said that those 2 picks are completely unprotected. So when you look at this deal, Ramie, Danilo Gallinari, 3 first-round picks. That is the 2023 first-round pick from Charlotte, the 2025 and 2027 first-round picks from Atlanta that are unprotected, and they also will be able to pick swap in 2026. Those are the details. Ramie, your thoughts on this deal?
That's a lot for Dejounte Murray, man, isn't it? That's a lot. And I know he's an up-and-comer, and I know last year he kind of broke through, made the All-Star game. But, man, and every year I seem to be amazed by what teams will give up, whether in a trade or via free agency. We'll talk about the Jalen Brunson deal later on. Every offseason, I'm amazed by what teams will give up for what they think is the guy or one of the guys that's going to take them to the next level and put them in the picture as a contender or whatever the case might be. This is a lot to give up for Dejounte Murray in my eyes, Nick.
You know, I think, again, Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140 on this Wednesday, a very busy Wednesday in the NBA, including some Kings news, which we'll get to in less than 10 minutes from right now. But when you look at this deal, Ramie, I actually think it's a good deal for Atlanta.
You do?
Yeah, I mean, Murray is 25 years old. He's an all-star. When you look at what he can do defensively, he's a playmaker. He can score. He can rebound. I think he's a very, very nice fit alongside Trae Young. Let's be honest. You know, Trae Young is not going to be making anybody forget about great defensive players in the history of the NBA. And he needs somebody who can pick up the slack in the backcourt. And also, here's the thing. If Trae Young truly wants to embrace off the ball, I think this could bring his game to the next level. I always go back to what the Hawks did when Shanky first took over that program, right? They went out, they drafted Trae Young. They went out and they drafted Kevin Huerter. And I always thought, you know, he came from Golden State, Shanky did. He comes from Golden State originally. And I thought, you know, when he, not to say that Trae Young is Steph Curry, but when he drafted Young and Huerter, I always thought that was his attempt at drafting someone close to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson as far as game goes. And what we've seen from Steph is his willingness to play off of the ball. Rami, I think if Trae Young embraces this and says to himself, I'm going to play off the ball a little bit and let Murray be that playmaker and that defender, I think you can get a lot more out of Young moving forward with this move.
It's a big if, though, isn't it? Because if Trae Young is willing to buy into this and play off, because that's a guy who likes the ball in his hands and likes being that dude on that basketball team. You know what I mean? And now it's going to be a little bit more of playing off ball, sharing that spotlight, sharing the scoring load. He's a guy who very much, it seems to me, wants to be the number one guy. The question that immediately popped into my head, Nick, and salary cap ramifications aside, is would you have done this if you're the Sacramento Kings and you know Dejounte Murray is on the market?
I mean,
three first-round picks and a player off your roster.
I mean, I'd look into it for sure. I mean, I'd make that deal if it was just 3 first-round picks and, you know, a player off my roster if I were getting protections on those picks. I mean, let's not forget, this is really the question to me from San Antonio's point of view. First of all, why now? Murray has 2 years left on his contract. It's a team-friendly deal. I don't really know what the urgency was from San Antonio. I don't know if there was some behind closed doors arguments or back and forths between the organization and the player. I'm not really sure why they felt they had to pull the trigger right now, because this trade, to me, it's not a great deal for San Antonio when you talk about return. We could talk about the picks. The Charlotte pick might be okay. Who knows? They're probably bringing Bridges back. But if you make that deal, you know, Atlanta, you would think if Atlanta now has Young and Murray in the backcourt and they continue to make moves, which is what I would expect, if that's the case, then those Atlanta picks, I don't think, are going to be great for San Antonio. So to me, it's a very kind of urgent trade by San Antonio. And as far as when you wrap the Kings into this, Rami, that's why I would be more hesitant to do the deal if I were Sacramento, because I think those future picks with the Kings are more than likely going to be much more valuable than those picks that you're going to get from the Hawks.
What are you trying to say here? What are you trying to say? The Knicks are going to be, or the Kings are going to be drafting near the top for a while? They're going to be in the lottery for a minute?
I wouldn't say at the top.
Okay.
I wouldn't say in the all I'm saying is this: Atlanta in the Eastern Conference, Sacramento in the Western Conference. The West is going to be incredibly difficult this upcoming year. It might be incredibly difficult the next 2 or 3 years. I just think the value of Kings picks are much higher than the value of Hawks picks.
That's fair. That's fair. I just think that's a lot. Maybe I'm selling Dejounte Murray short, but that seems like a lot to give up for that guy. But you're right in that Atlanta's picks shouldn't be that high or that high of value if things work out the way that they think they're going to work out in Atlanta with this new pairing of Young and Murray.
What's interesting to me too about this trade, again, Dejounte Murray gets traded to Atlanta. We're talking about it right now on Cattles and Ramie. We'll have your Kings news coming up in just a few short minutes, about 3-4 minutes from right now. But the other part of this trade that kind of makes me interested is San Antonio. Again, I don't think they're getting this incredible package. Now, maybe San Antonio feels like the Hawks are going to be bad. And by the time you get to 25 and 27, those picks are unprotected. And, you know, you might be picking in the top 5. And that would be absolutely fantastic for them if that's how it falls together. But the other part of this is, you know, you've got Popovich. And Popovich is 70-some-odd years old. I don't think he has a long time left in this league. And this deal to me kind of screams a complete rebuild, a complete reset. This is almost, Rami, you could actually question whether or not the Spurs are focused on tanking next year for Wembanyama, who is that, you know, generational talent everybody's talking about who might go first overall next season or next year in the draft. You wonder, you know, are the Spurs, it seems like they're throwing up the white flag. I would think Gallinari is going to be either spun in another trade or probably bought out and will become a free agent. So to me, this is kind of the Spurs saying we're completely hitting the reset button.
Which is weird because it seemed like they were in the middle of a rebuild now. And Dejounte Murray was kind of one of the centerpieces of that. It feels like they started one and never really completed it. And maybe it is that Greg Popovich is on his way out and they want a fresh new start or have a fresh new mind that's in the building already, that has an idea for what he wants to do in the post Greg Popovich era. But Nick, doesn't it seem like they were right in the middle of a rebuild already? That Dejounte Murray was kind of a centerpiece of.
Yeah, you would think that he'd be the leader kind of the next generation. But
like
instead,
you said, 25 years old, 2 years left on the contract. Like it doesn't make a ton of sense as far as the timeline when you talk about San Antonio to hit the reset button again at this point in where that franchise is at with the rebuild that they started 2 or 3 years ago.
You look at the Atlanta side of this, I would say that they're obviously not done. This could make Kevin Huerter that much more available. I would imagine he is on the block now because Huerter is going to be blocked by Dejounte Murray. So Huerter is going to be available. We've heard about John Collins. I don't think Atlanta is done. They obviously want to reshape this roster around Trae Young. They were not happy with what they did last year. So we'll continue to talk about this trade, but we also want to get into the Sacramento Kings because I just mentioned Kevin Huerter. This all might tie in somehow to Sacramento and what the Kings do here over the next few days with Monte McNair. We'll get into that. We'll get your reaction on this trade as well. A lot more, and I mean a lot more coming up on Cattles and Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140.